All right. Yo, yo, yo. What is good, everybody? It is the Godfather of VR coming at you once again, the ageless one of the man, Lincoln Clay, as I am returning on the trip uh, from the U.S. Embassy back to Wakanda. I'd like to thank everybody as you make your way into Wakanda. Um, we hope that the guards will make your visit to Wakanda very comfortable. And we thank you for joining us in here at Wakanda. Uh, but any violations of the rules, and we will not have it all. In my Mbaku voice. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Seems like 5 minutes ago that I did my last stream. And I'd like to thank those of you who joined the Spark stream. As I had a guy who was talking a little bit of shit, and I had to close his yap for him, and I beat him on Spark. And the guy was I don't think the guy was very good. I think he was just talking shit because I think his girlfriend might have been sitting next to him because while he was talking trash to me, I heard a woman's voice in the background. So that's the one thing you don't do with me is if you talk shit and you got your girlfriend watching and I know your girlfriend's watching, I'm gonna try even harder to beat you. So, but again, everybody, welcome to Wakanda as we are live from Wakanda, and this is our first show of 2020. As you guys probably know, I didn't do a show last week because I feel like there wasn't enough news that was even worth doing a show. And this week, in the case of this week, I think there was a lot of VR news. I think a lot of reaction to the Sony CES. I think there was a lot of reaction to that about the PlayStation logo. That's what they revealed to us. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, what a reaction across the internet that was. So I mean, I did do a when I talked about the 5 million PSVR headsets sold, I gave my opinion on that logo reveal. I felt like it was a little bit of a slap in the face. I wasn't upset at the logo reveal. I just didn't think it was necessary. Because when they talked about the PS5, they didn't give us any new information that we didn't already know about. All the information that they gave us, Mark Cerny had pretty much gave it to us when he did that interview a while back. So all they did was really reiterate what Mark Cerny said, and then threw that logo in on top of it. And then the way they introduced that logo, it was like, okay, here we go, and it was like, I would like to now show you we were proud to announce the PS5 logo. When he said we are proud to announce or whatever it was he said, it was like, okay, here comes that moment, and it looked like they were about to, I didn't, even if they revealed the Cold Yogurt, greatest troll moment in history. Even if they, even if they would have showed us what the console looked like, I never thought for 1 minute they was going to give us any specs. Because Sony plays better chess than Microsoft. Now, being honest about that, I did say that I felt like Microsoft did steal the show when they showed the Xbox Series X at the Game Awards. And the general belief was that Sony was going to have to respond. And I felt like they would have to respond, but I didn't think they were going to have to respond in a big way. It's just like giving people a little. I knew Sony would give us a little tidbit. Because that stage, CES, that stage is too small for them to reveal the PlayStation 5. They're gonna do it on their own stage, where they have the stage to themselves. They're not gonna do it. I don't believe they're gonna do it on like an E3 stage where they got to compete with Microsoft giving them more information about the Xbox Series X, or Paris Game Show, some shit like that. They're gonna do it on their own stage. You said no audio. There should be some audio. Yeah, you're right. There is no audio. Just a minute. Um, Yeti microphone. You hear me, Cyber Dragon? Okay, let me come back to this. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Okay, yeah, that sounds there. Well, you had me in a panic there. I'm like, I've been rambling off at the mouth. Okay, so let me shut that down. Okay, so if I happen to lose sound, let me know. Okay, let me come back to this. All right, we good. Cyber Dragon, what is good? J Dog, what is good? Guy Code, what is good? How's everybody? So, getting back to this PS5 logo reveal, before I get into, live from Wakanda, the latest news and stuff like that. Actually, the CES show is part of the past news this week. And as I was going to say that, as I was trying to say that the logo reveal, I was even okay with the logo reveal. It's just the way they introduced it. It's like, now, we are proud to announce, or we are proud to show you for the first time. And it's like, oh, here it comes. And then the PS5 logo. That was like right across my face. I never thought for 1 minute because you said it's all good. It's warm here in Cincinnati. That's what's up. I never thought for 1 minute that Sony would give us the specs, because Microsoft didn't give us the specs to the Xbox Series X. So I never thought for 1 minute that Sony would give us the specs of the PS5. I never thought for one moment they would give us a price point. But what I think was that the situation with the Xbox Series X, again, I will admit, they did steal the show with that, because I never saw that coming. I do think they stole the show when they showed the Xbox Series X, but I think the toxic Xbox community I think they would look deeper into that than what it really was. I think that because of that moment at the game show and the revelation of the Xbox Series X, I think the Xbox felt like Sony had to spill their entire guts at the CES. Like, they had to show everything. Sony wasn't going to have anything that was going to top that Hellblade trailer and the revelation of the Xbox Series X. So I think they went in there with this belief that that Sony was going to have to spill everything. And I already knew that. I just felt like Sony wasn't really going to reveal shit. All they were really going to do was just give us a little tidbit, just so they can pretty much respond. So I did believe that Sony was going to respond to the game show revelation of the Xbox Series X. I just didn't think they were going to give us anything worth talking about. But like I said, they backhanded the shit out of everybody with that logo reveal. And I wasn't upset by it, but I was like, y'all play games. I was like, that was a slap in the face. They played games with the way they revealed that logo. And Sick Humor was laughing his ass off over that shit. And now that it's done and over with, yeah, I can go back and laugh at it now that it's done and over with. But at the time, I was like, when they showed that logo, I was like, okay. I'm thinking at that very moment, okay, it was okay that you showed the logo, but why'd you have to do it like you would, they act like they were getting ready to pull a tarp off of a brand new car that they had just built, but they, gave you that shit. But yeah, I can look back at it and laugh now. But when I talked about that earlier this week, that was just a side note, because that podcast was really about PlayStation selling 5 million PSVR headsets, and I guess that was part of the news this week, part of the tweets that I made. And I can go back and reiterate what I said about that earlier. 5 million. I'm glad that Sony did make it to 5 million headsets, and I do believe that my prediction was right. I do believe they hit that 5 million headsets sold by the end of 2019, because if I'm not mistaken, when they showed how many headsets was sold, I believe the exact number they showed was like 5.06 million, which comes out to be 5,060,000 headsets. And that was revealed earlier this week at CES, only a few days into the new year. So they had to hit that 5 million mark before 2019. So I was correct in my prediction that they would hit 5 million headset before the end of 2019. And then I did videos talking about how I think that if they were to hit 6 million headsets by the end of 2021, I think that would be huge. The biggest reason why I didn't make that prediction that they would hit 6 million by the end of 2020 is for the exact same reason why I think they have not sold more headsets. I think when it came to marketing the PlayStation VR, Sony did the bare minimum. Unlike Oculus, because anybody who watches YouTube and they watch all these Oculus videos or all these VR videos, just about every other ad you see is an Oculus ad. So they're marketing the shit out of the Oculus Quest. And I think I've even seen their ads on TV a couple of times. Unlike Sony, they're not marketing the PlayStation VR. And again, as I said before, when the PlayStation VR first launched, it was a $500 peripheral, and I think that's to put it in aspect. To me, when you buy a set of wheels for your car, the wheels that you bought for that car should never cost more than the car. And that's what I think you had with the PlayStation VR. The peripheral cost more than the base. It should have been the other way around, in my opinion. The PlayStation Pro should have been $400 and the PlayStation VR should have been $300. With a price tag like $500, Sony had to know that the sales were going to be slow, especially if they're going to put in a minimal effort to market this thing. So with that being said, I think it is an amazing achievement that they were able to hit 5 million. But in addition to the poor marketing and the high price point when the console first launched, it is the timing of the launch, because the PlayStation 4 launched in 2013, in November of 2013, and then the PSVR came along 3 years later in October of 2016. All those factors combined, if it wasn't for all that shit that I just mentioned, Sony would have already been sitting on 6 million by now. And then the other thing is taking into consideration is if you weren't going to lower the price on that VR headset, you should have had more sales. Because let's face it, the first 10 months into the PlayStation VR's life cycle, I said this before, that they only sold 750,000 units, which at the time was still more than the Oculus Rift and the HTC combined. So, I don't know. I don't need to say that for the 2 millionth time that VR wouldn't be where it's at if it wasn't for Sony. They were the ones that brought it to the mainstream. They were the one that made it a plug and play peripheral, and as time went on, they made it affordable. So I think $350 for a headset that used to be $500 is not bad. But let's face it, whenever the PlayStation VR goes on sale, they move units. And I think now's the time, I said this before, I think now's the time for them to go ahead and make a permanent price cut on the PlayStation VR and knock it down another $50. VR is strong enough now that people are starting to finally warm up to the idea of possibly having a VR headset. Shit, like for instance, my boy Porter Rock. I watched his stream a couple of days ago. He said he absolutely loved VR, and he's getting ready to get a gaming PC, and so he can get a VR headset. I'm guessing the Oculus Rift S. So hey, VR is resonating with people. And people who don't have a VR headset, they're no longer saying that, nah, I don't want nothing to do with VR, blah blah blah. Now they're starting to say, hey, I've been thinking about it, I've been taking a look at it, that kind of stuff. So VR has grown. VR has grown enough to the point where if the PlayStation VR, in my opinion, had a permanent price of $250, they would have They would have been over 6 million. They probably would have been sitting on 6.5 million by now. So, and I think so because of that, I think this is the time to make that permanent price cut. Anybody who's been following PlayStation VR closely, and as far as information about the PS5, they know that the current PSVR headset is going to work on the PlayStation 5. Now is the time to cut that price so they can get everybody ready for the PS5. So you knock that price down to $250 now, people get the headset right now. If you wait until the PS5 comes out and then knock the price down, you're going to be pinching people a little bit. You're going to be asking them to drop probably $500 for the headset. And then let's say they knock the price down from $350 down to $300. You're asking people to shell out $800. Make that price cut right now so they can buy that headset right now. And then they can turn their focus towards saving their money to get ready for the PS5. Now is the time to make that price cut. Sony could have had the VR game in a stranglehold if that thing wasn't so pricey, and then they would have marketed it more. They would have had the VR game in a stranglehold. I mean, if that PSVR headset was like $250, they would be giving the Oculus Quest a run for the money, because you would make people have to make a very hard decision. Do I spend $400 on the Oculus Quest, or do I drop $250 on the PlayStation VR? That would be a very, very tough question for someone who wants to get into VR. That'd be a very tough choice for them to make. So that's what my take on. So that's that. Hold on. Give me a second, folks. I got something here.
I have an avatar that has a working chainsaw, but I did not upload it.
Okay, I assume that's George Simmons. He just sent me a message, and I did accept the friend request. Okay, so let's get into the other stuff live from Wakanda. So I hope I condensed it a little bit, but yeah, that's my take on Sony selling 5 million PlayStation VR units. Great feat, but it's a great feat, but it could be better than that. So I'm impressed, but I'm not impressed.
Yes, can you see what I look like?
So this next one, I just made this post on Twitter just to troll people because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Let me see here. Xbox Game Pass is awesome, and PlayStation can learn a thing or two from it. So let's like mini gamers. I am hesitant about subscription services when it comes to video games. Downloads can be a pain, and streaming isn't assured, especially if you have so-so internet. So when Game Pass came out, curiosity piqued my interest. Throughout the first year or so, I subscribed on and off, but never really saw myself using it much. I guess the available titles didn't interest me enough or something. Fast forward to around October of 2019, constant updates to the service, and they were promoting it along with Game Pass Ultimate, which in itself is worth it. Game Pass Ultimate is not worth it. You're already paying what the shit already costs. I'll come around and break that down in a second, but that is not value. It is two services at their regular price, disguised as a value package. That is not value. It is what you are already paying in the first place. I'll break that down. I'll break that down in a minute. So, so I decided to give it another try, At that point, it was just $1. It was probably the best gaming decision I've made in a while. It has opened my eyes to a lot of indie games and even some major AAA titles that I wouldn't have been able to afford otherwise. Ultimate is where the deal really does increase it exponentially, which is with its inclusion of Xbox Live Gold, and it is even a month of Spotify, EA Play, respectively. If you choose to take advantage, that's if you choose to take advantage. You can buy it outright for a year or pay month to month, which is still cheaper than doing them separate. I like it especially since it also allows for Game Pass on PC now. I found myself taking advantage of the PC games as well, since they aren't exactly the same lineup. Another major hook is that a lot of games are day and date if they are Microsoft Studio titles. Gears 5 was day and date on the service. Gears Tactics, which was just announced, also going to be coming day and date to Game Pass. I really don't need to go on any further with this because I do not see the relevance of this title. You know, Game Pass Ultimate, in my opinion, the only extras that you're getting out of that was the EA Play, whatever that is, the Spotify, which I think Spotify is free on the PlayStation anyway. It's just limited in the stuff that you can listen to if you're not a paid subscriber. But I do believe it is free on the PlayStation, so I don't really consider that as added value. And in PC, you know, PC Game Pass. If Game Pass Ultimate gives you PC Game Pass, hey, Patient Fire, what is good? How you doing? If Ultimate Game Pass gives you both Game Pass on PC and the Xbox, okay. But the $15 a month, you're already paying what you would have already paid. So let's break this down. And God knows I've done this. I don't know how many times. Game Pass is $10 a month. So that would have been $120 a year, right? Xbox Live is $60 a year. So that comes up to be $180. So those are for two separate services. Game Pass and Xbox Live. $180. Now, let me pull out my calculator. You know, but like when you break those services down separately, again, Game Pass is $10 a month, and when you break down the 60-year membership of Xbox Live, that comes out to be $5 a month. So that would be $15 a month. When you break it down, when you look at it that way, $5 a month for the Xbox Live and $10 a month for Game Pass. So, but if you total them up, like I said, $120 a month. If you go monthly with Game Pass, $120 a month. And if you were to go a year with a Xbox Live, that's $180 total. So let me pull out my calculator. 180 divided by 12 comes out to be $15 a month. Where is the fucking value? There's no value. So I get tired of people talking about what a value Game Pass is. There's no value to me. And a lot of the AAA games on there, other than the Microsoft games, a lot of the AAA games on there, third-party AAA games, they are either like 86 years old, or it was a game that flopped and they had to hurry up and get on Game Pass so they can get some kind of money back out of it. Because I think, you know, Microsoft will give them some upfront money for it to be on Game Pass for such a time. But in my opinion, if they have to stoop to bringing their game over to Game Pass, if the game is either super old or it was super trash and nobody bought it. And so you'll never see games like Call of Duty day one. Matter of fact, you'll never see any of the. I don't know if you'll ever see any of the Call of Duty games on Game Pass, because I believe that like on Steam and shit like that, the old Call of Duty games from the 360 generation, I think they still sell for $20. And not to mention that, you know, when you play the games on PC, they still have, You know, Blizzard has its own launcher. So shit like that, I don't think you'll ever see games like Call of Duty on Game Pass. If they did something like that, and they were to put new, like that, the latest Modern Warfare, if they would have put that on Game Pass day and date, it would have broke their fucking infrastructure. You know, Xbox Live would have collapsed on top of itself. Because that would have been the real reason people would have got Game Pass. You know, because you've seen how quick, you know, Gears 5 faded out on that shit. Okay, so let's get back to the next topic. And I need to get some air circulating here, so just a moment, folks. My son is in the next room. And for those who follow my channel, you probably guessed it. He is on the PC playing VR chat. So, all right. Let's see here. The next topic is that Beat Saber tops the charts as most downloaded PSVR game for 2019. That is not a surprise for a couple of reasons. So I'll just read a couple of paragraphs. Sony has revealed rankings for game downloads in 2019 across both Europe and U.S. territories, and unsurprisingly, Beat Saber tops both charts. Excuse me. After already topping charts over the holiday period at the end of 2019, Beat Saber apparently dominated PSVR downloads all year long as well. You might remember it actually released in November 2018 on Sony's headset, but still beat out all new releases in 2019. In fact, only one 2019 release shows up on the EU chart, Blood and Truth, and the only two show up on the US chart, Blood and Truth and Five Nights at Freddy's, which isn't too surprising. Sony appears to be holding back at this point to prep for PS5 and PSVR 2. And I think that's one of the reasons why Beat Saber was one of the most downloaded games of 2019. Because I think Sony has been fairly slow this year with the exclusives. And even if it's a year later, whatever the case may be, Beat Saber is still that game where people will see it at first and be like, nah, I'm not really interested in it. And then when they actually try it, and then they start to get the hang of it, and then they get into it, and then they go to town and start playing. Once they get done playing, once they take their headset off, it's like, no, wait a minute, what was this called? What's this VR called? You know, PSVR, Oculus, you know, how much is it? You know, that's what you get after people get done trying Beat Saber, because it still has that much of an impact on, you know, on people that's new to VR or people that's interested in VR. So here's a full list of EU most downloaded PSVR games list. Beat Saber was number 1, Blood and Truth 2, Job Simulator 3, Super Hot VR 4, Creed Rise to Glory 5, which is a little bit of a surprise because I thought that game was dead. So maybe I'll have to start up my Creed streams again and jump back in that ring and start knocking out bums and talking shit. Astrobot Rescue Mission was number 6. Until Dawn Rush of Blood was number 7. Now that's surprising. Arizona Sunshine, not terribly surprising. Farpoint, I'm not terribly surprised because I think that is, for somebody who wants the aim controller, I think Farpoint was the original game that launched with the aim controller, and it's still a good game. I think it has good graphics and it has a good story. I think Farpoint is still an amazing game. Rick and Morty Virtual Reality. And so I don't know. Over on the US side, we got Beat Saber first, Super Hot second, Elder Scrolls Skyrim third, Five Nights at Freddy's fourth, Job Simulator fifth, Creed 6, Borderlands 2 7, Firewall 0 Hour 8. That doesn't surprise me at all. Blood and Truth 9, which Blood and Truth should have been higher on that list because Blood and Truth is absolutely amazing. If it was not for Asgard's Wrath, Blood and Truth would have been my game of 2019. And believe me, Asgard's Wrath only edged them out by that much, you know, by my own rankings. Because anyone who gets PlayStation VR, Blood and Truth is going to be one of the first things that comes out of my mouth out of games I tell them that they must get. So now we're moving on to the next subject. I think this is a long time coming, but I think this is not going to solve the. I don't know if this is going to solve the issue long term. HTC Vive cuts. Let's see. HTC cuts Vive Pro price. Base headset now cheaper than the Cosmos. So from what I'm looking at, it looks like they cut the price of the headset, but not the entire setup, because I think the entire Vive Pro setup, last time I checked, cost $1,600. So let me take a second to go to the Best Buy website and do a price check.
You have to put, well, you have to put your thumb on the thumbstick for it to take the chainsaw. Here we go.
Yeah, Vive Pro is $1,400 for the complete setup. Shit.
Yeah.
And I lost my Walmart map. My Walmart. Oh, there it is. It moved. Put it back where it belongs.
So pull out your chainsaw.
Let me see here. I think I might have lost a couple of other apps. I don't know.
And trigger to activate that.
So anyway, so let's get into this article about the HTC Vive lowering its price. Starting today,
Okay, so activate.
HTC Vive is cutting the price of its enterprise-focused and very expensive PC VR headset, the HTC Vive Pro. Starting today, the standalone Vive Pro, which includes just the headset alone, costs $599. That's $200 less than its original $799 price. In fact, it's even cheaper than the HTC new consumer-level VR headset, the Vive Cosmos, that costs $699, but also comes with 2 hand tracking controllers and embedded sensors for inside-out tracking. The standalone Vive Pro doesn't have controllers, nor the external Steam VR sensors to track the headset. So to be clear, the standalone kit is only a viable option if you already own Steam VR base stations and Vive controllers, which was a complete waste. What's the point of it? So it looks to me like if you buy the headset by itself, that's the only area where you're going to save money. But if you still buy the complete setup, it's still going to be stuck at its original price of $1,400, which I think is ridiculous. I believe the Valve Index, from all opinions, the Valve Index seems to be a much better headset for $400 less at $1,000. So that's ridiculous. So how many times do I got to say it? Price. So, but hey, the HTC Vive, I'm guessing they had no intentions of reaching the mainstream, the consumers. So, when you're trying to reach the mainstream consumer, price is everything. So that's all the more reason why what the Oculus Quest is doing is phenomenal, because they're getting inching ever so close to the mainstream and haven't had to drop the price of the Quest. If they would have dropped, from what I'm seeing, if they would have dropped the price of the Quest to like $300, everybody who would want a Quest, Amazon and all that shit, the internet would break if they did that. Cold Yogurt, it seems like HTC Vive is a sinking ship. You got a overpriced Vive Pro, a non-functioning Vive Cosmos, and an outdated and still overpriced HTC Vive for $500. What the hell are they thinking? An outdated Vive that has a 1200 resolution and still has blur around the outside. Blur is a thing of the past now with VR. We're far enough into this into the cycle of VR that it's mandatory. If you got blur around the outside of the the FOV, the field of view or whatever, you got blur around that shit. What's the sense of even releasing a headset? $500? Like you know, and then on top of that, I think the Vive is discontinued, but yet they're still selling. I think they're still selling refurbished Vive headsets for $500. So what the hell are they thinking? So this was almost a complete waste of time to even make this post, but I mean, it got me to where I'm going with this right now. You can, however, get a Vive Pro, 2 controllers, 2 Steam VR 1.0 base stations for the new price of $899. Whoa. Wait a minute, hold on. You can, however, get a Vive Pro, 2 controllers and 2 Steam VR for the new price $899, or you could even upgrade to 2.0 base stations for $1,200. Okay, it looked like some funky looking shit going on here. So it said you can, however, get a Vive Pro, 2 controllers, and 2 Steam VR 1.0 base stations for the new price of $900. Or you could even upgrade to the full kit, which includes Steam VR 2.0 base stations for $1,200. That's $200 more than the $999 Valve Index, which also includes 2.0 base stations and its own Index controllers. Shit. Okay, let's move on to the next one. You know, with all these headsets that's coming out a mile a minute, like I said, the storm is already coming for the Oculus Quest. The storm is coming. People are getting ready to make their own standalone headsets. So the Quest is going to have some competitors in a couple of years. With that being said, where do you think the Vive Pro is going to sit in all of this? It's going to get swallowed up. They're going to end up. They got no choice. If they want this shit to appeal to consumers, people like you and me, they're gonna have to, knock the price down, or in my opinion, like Anthony of VR 365 said, he wouldn't be surprised if they're even not even around in a couple of years if they end up going bankrupt or something. Okay. Next up, Job Simulator goes platinum, selling over 1 million copies to date. Alchemy Labs has something to celebrate, as the Google-owned VR studio announced that its tongue-in-cheek parody simulator game, Job Simulator, has officially broke the 1 million unit sales mark. I did not know the developers of Job Simulator was owned by Google. That's interesting. So, Job Simulator was a launch title for HTC Vive, PlayStation VR, and Oculus Touch in 2016, putting it in an extremely favorable position in the early days of consumer VR. It has also garnered widespread viral attention, thanks to its ease of use, not to mention madcap, object-oriented gameplay. But, I don't really need to go any further than that. Let me see. When did it launch? It was a launch title in 2016, so it's taken a little over 2 years for it to hit the 1 million mark. I guess that's still an impressive feat in a sense that we've moved far enough along in these graphics that games don't really look like that anymore. I mean, because when I first made the decision to go ahead and get on board with VR and started making the transition to go full blown VR, I was at that point where I was like, give me anything, I'll take whatever you got. It's fine if it be in VR. But we're far enough along now. There's so many different kind of VR games out there. And enough genres in VR type games that I don't have to accept anything that comes out anymore. I don't have to accept something just because it's got the name VR attached to it. Because we have come far enough along that there are some VR games out there that's actually trash. So, but VR, Job Simulator came along at a time where there wasn't a, it was just getting started. PlayStation VR was in its infancy. And it was a game that my son wanted because that was the game that he really had his eyeball on when he first started asking me about the PlayStation VR. That was one of the games that he really, really wanted. And again, you know, the PlayStation VR was in its infancy, so I was at a point where like, just give us anything that had the letters VR attached to it. I took it, you know. So, but congratulations to them. You know, I don't want to be negative and put a dark cloud over this. This is an achievement because you know not many VR games break the million mark. So when it does happen, it is an amazing feat. So shout out to the developers for breaking 1 million.
Yes, it is.
Let me see here. Ryzen 4000 mobile processors leaked. I'm not even gonna bother with that. Um, Let me see. The PlayStation 5 should already have a major advantage over Xbox Series X. I'm not even going to bother reading that because I have said this over and over and over again. When the next generation starts, based on customer loyalty, the score is going to be PS5 80 million, Xbox Series X 35 million. They're going to get their ass kicked all over again. You know, and then I haven't really been keeping up with this story too much about, you know, the outrage that the Xbox Series X is not going to launch with any exclusives. So, you know, I guess that's a little Hershey stain on Microsoft. So I don't even really need to get into this article about PS5 having an advantage. It obviously has to have an advantage when they reveal a PS5 logo and it breaks the internet. So we already know the PS5 is going to have an advantage, even if the Xbox Series X has the power advantage. It doesn't matter. PlayStation's still going to kick their ass. It's just a matter as if they can beat them as bad as they did this generation. So next up, and this could be the last tidbit that I got as far as news goes. Next, Blade and Sorcery update to overhaul magic system with new spells and character designs. According to a recent update on the Steam page for Blade and Sorcery, the developer outlined what's coming up next in Update 8, which is looking like it'll be one of the biggest updates the game's gotten in quite some time. Blade and Sorcery is a melee-focused combat simulator with arena battles that take place in a handful of different maps. There is no storyline. It is more of a sandbox combat game, but its features are impressively detailed. Physics system that makes combat immensely satisfying. You can read some blah 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 blah. In the Steam page post, it says the next update has been delayed a bit into Q2 2020, but as a result, is introducing a ton of features, specifically 2 new spells in the form of Gravity and Fire, as well as version 2 of the Lightning spell. You'll also be able to merge spells, and they're introducing a tutorial, new armors for NPCs and the player, as well as new character designs and an overhaul of material collision logic and effects, plus new weapons as usual, as well as the ability to mod armor and spells. So that will add some a little bit of life to Blade and Sorcery. So I think that'll be a welcome update. Impatient Fire. Facts. Sony already has a leg up, and the lack of Series X exclusives have already sunk the Xbox ship. Oh yeah, definitely. Xbox Series X is probably a vaporware. I see you, Cold Yogurt. Actually, King Thrash just came out with a video that said the Xbox Series X is dead. Is DOA, dead on arrival. So I'm definitely gonna check this out when I get done with this podcast, and you should too. Check out my man King Thrash. He is to this very day still my favorite YouTuber. The man's language, his vocabulary is ghetto by his own admission, but he is incredibly intelligent. So definitely go check him out, my man King Thrash Gaming, my favorite YouTube, and also one is in terms of YouTubers goes, one of my best friends. Check him out, King Thrash Gaming. So that's my guy. Check him out. So let me see if there's anything else. I don't really think there's anything else to talk about. I really don't even feel like. No, I haven't seen it yet. Cold yogurt. I don't even really think it's worth even getting into these new headsets. Like this Panda, like at CES 2020, Panasonic shows Ultra Compact VR, but details are light. You know, it's basically some glasses. You know, they're basically like some VR glasses, but it's prototypes right now, and people are speculating that the consumers will never see this. So I don't even think it's worth talking about if we're never going to see it. And then we got the Pico Neo 2, which I talked about and did a podcast on that earlier this year. There's going to be right now it is supposed to launch for enterprises. It's supposed to be for enterprise use, but it is still a standalone headset with a 75 hertz refresh rate. It has a Snapdragon 845 mobile processor in it, I believe, whereas the Quest has an 835. So in that aspect, but I think it does have a resolution. I think it might have said it had a resolution of 2880, which is significantly higher than the 1600 on the Quest. But I think where the big difference is this is a standalone headset that you can wirelessly connect to a PC. And I guess the processor of the headset as well as the processor of your PC will work together to deliver optimal performance. That people were saying that the latency between a wireless connection and a wired connection was almost undistinguishable. So even though this headset is supposed to launch for enterprise users, you know somebody's going to buy it and try out games on it. So I think this headset is going to start off for enterprises in the beginning, but I think it will make its way over to the gaming landscape, and because that's money that they can jump in on, you know, by exposing this game to the gaming format. That's more money they can get in on. So I do think that this headset could very well could conceivably be a competitor to the Oculus Quest. But we all, you know, I've already talked about that before, that, you know, more headsets are on the way, more standalone headsets are on the way. So Oculus right now, they dominate the standalone headset because they're really the only sheriff in town. But more people are going to come to town to try to compete, you know, with Oculus. So this is why I had said in one of my previous streams, Oculus needs to get their head out of their ass and make supply catch up with demand, so they can get as many Oculus Quests out there in the wild as possible. Because I think you know, in a couple of years it's going to turn into a jungle, and you know, and Oculus is going to fight. They're going to have to fight for their right to be at the VR table. So excuse me. Cold yogurt. I played Boneworks. Knuckles controller, you have to grasp things by closing fist and release by opening hand. Cool, but needs some work. Not to mention that I heard that these knuckle controllers were breaking when the headset first launched. Garuda Legends! Please don't put me into the you said please don't pump me into the moon and make me ricochet into the sun. Oh God, Garuda, you kill me with that shit every time you come into the podcast. Like that one time you came in and asked me not to suplex you on top of a volcano. Oh, that's hilarious. How you doing, Garuda? But yeah, Cold Yogurt. I had heard about these knuckle controllers breaking, and I also was hearing that Valve was dragging his feet to try to rectify this problem. You know, whether they were fixing people's controllers or whether they were replacing them. So I think the big thing that I was hearing at the time was they were trying to repair people's controllers rather than replace them. Because I guess if they would have replaced them, it kind of would have cut into the stock that was reserved for the complete kit, you know, for consumers. So I don't know. I haven't really heard anything much about that situation anymore. And I've said it before, when I move into another place, I do plan to get another headset. What I don't know, I just don't know what it is. It could be a Valve Index. Maybe by the time I get into a new place, maybe the price will come down on the Valve Index a little bit, maybe 50 or $100, whatever. And I don't know what kind of hybrid standalone headsets are going to be out there, because this Pico Neo, I don't know if this is the first of standalone headsets that will wirelessly connect the PC, but it certainly will not be the last. Impatient Fire, Oculus Quest and Rift S looking really good. Maybe get the Rift S depending on my finances. If you have a gaming PC, I would recommend that, because you're gonna get better visuals out of the Rift S, because just for the simple fact that it's being powered by a PC. But if you end up getting a Quest, that's still not a bad move, because you have a standalone headset that you can take anywhere with you. And if you get the Oculus Link cable, which is $80, or you get the proper transfer cable, which you can probably find for around $20, they're hard to get now, because once that Link cable came out, everybody was flooding Amazon trying to get, one of those transfer cables. So they're really hard to get. But if you do decide to get an Oculus Quest and you have a gaming PC and you get a transfer cable or the Oculus Link cable, it is not a bad move, because you will still be able to connect your Oculus Quest to your PC and still get PC-like visuals and performance. So neither is a bad move, but if you have a gaming PC and you want the best visuals and that kind of stuff, I would recommend the Rift S. You said I have a gaming PC, that's why I'm leaning towards the Rift S. You can't go wrong. And it's like I said before in my earlier podcast, and it's like I said a trillion times. The Rift S, in my opinion, is the best bang for the buck. There's no headset out there with the same price as the Rift S that doesn't have its drawbacks. Even if the HTC Vive, which has been discontinued, even if they were selling refurbished ones for $400 because of $500 for a headset that's been discontinued, selling it refurbished, I think at the same price as I think they were selling them at the same price as the new headsets, or at $400. I can't remember what it is. Either way, you still got an advantage because of the 1400 resolution versus the 1200 of the HTC Vive. You still have an advantage. I've seen both the Rift S and the HTC Vive. At the time that I saw that the HTC Vive, it was the best looking headset that I've seen out there at the time, better than the PSVR, but it still had blur. The Rift S doesn't have any blur. The Rift S is crystal clear. Any headset that has the clarity of the Rift S costs more. Plain and simple. Samsung Odyssey Plus, I think, is $500 or $600. The HP Reverb is $600. The Valve Index is $1,000. The Cosmos is, I believe, $800. The Vive Pro, $1,400 at Best Buy. There is no headset out there with the clarity of the Rift S, with the proving tracking capabilities of the Rift S. That's cheaper than the Rift S. You will not get a better headset at that price than the Rift S. Is $400. And believe me, I was definitely apprehensive about the Rift S when it came out, because I was a little leery of the 80 hertz refresh rate versus the 90 of the CV1, and there were problems with the inside-out tracking when it first came out. But my Oculus sent out an update, and that's what the tracking is excellent on the Rift S. So there's no headset out there that matches the Rift S in performance and price. It is the best bang for the buck. You said Impatient Fire, Rift is good, but FOV on Valve is real good. It is. I will admit that. I think the FOV on the Rift S, I believe, is, I don't know, somewhere between 90 and 110 degrees. I can't really remember, but it might be 90. It might be 90 or 100. I can't really remember. I do know the FOV on the Valve Index is significantly higher, but hey, that's going to cost you an extra $600. So I've got nothing against the Valve Index. I just think that the Rift S is the way to go if you want a good performing headset that won't break the fucking bank. You know, um, in Patient Fire, you're telling Cold Yogurt, nice, that's good to know. I'll put it into consideration when I'm researching for my purposes. You know, so that's all to it, in my opinion. The Rift S is a good headset at an affordable price, and it is crystal clear. It may not be as clear as the Valve Index or any other headset that has a higher resolution, but hey, it's clear enough for me. Clear enough that I can see the difference. You know, shit that's in the background. You know, stuff in the background on the PlayStation VR that would normally be blurry, I can make the background out on the Rift S. I don't know what headset Patient Fire has. I don't know. I think possibly a PlayStation VR. Polish Paul has a new video out, and the thumbnail has a couple of fighter jets on it. I'm gonna have to look into that. So, oh, you know what? Let me check something, because I do want to invite, for all of you that have a Quest headset, I want to invite you. I want to invite you to an event today. But let me double check. Let me check the Oculus app. Library. Let me back up. Notifications. So what I'm trying to check is events. So give me a second to check, see if there's anything as far as events goes. Because I think there's going to be a game on tonight, an NBA game. And I'd like to invite people to join me for that game. So let me check. Let me check to see what time this game. You know what? Give me a second. I'm going to grab my Quest. Give me a second. You guys are going to see me put this headset on, so it's going to look rather stupid. But I need to check Oculus venues, because I do believe there is an NBA game on tonight. And if it is, I'm inviting everyone who has a Quest to join me. So just a second. I'm getting ready to check the Oculus venues, because I believe there's a game on tonight. Okay, give me a second, folks. Confirm Guardian. Shit, no internet connection. Go open this Wi-Fi, turn the Wi-Fi on, turn it off, turn it on. Connecting. Come on. Connecting. So give me a second, folks. God, it doesn't want to connect. There might be too many things going on right now for it to maintain a connection. Uh, it's not opening. Yeah, it's not connecting. Let me do a restart. I know I look rather stupid and I can't see any comments, but give me a second here. I'm coming back now. Let me see here. What do we got here? Let me see here. I have a PSVR that I use on my PS4 Pro and PC. It said I use a program called iVRY that lets me link PSVR to my PC and play Steam VR games. And Cold Yogurt, you saying, dang, that's cool. Yes, PSVR headset is awesome. I got my Valve yesterday. It's great, but has a lot of drawbacks. Okay, so let me try this again and see if I have a connection. Notifications. Okay, and then a message from George Simmons. Okay, so give me a second. It is connected to the internet. Yes, there is a game tonight at 7 p.m. I believe Eastern time. There is an NBA game between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Boston Celtics. So, if you have an Oculus Quest, join me at 7 o'clock for this game, because you can watch this game like it's like actually being at the game, and you're sitting in you're sitting in a section, as if you're actually in the game. You look up and you'll see all these rows of seats, and you'll see other live people at the game just watching the game. And you can choose where you want to sit. And then everybody that's at that game, if this is a person where it says that you two were at a previous NBA game, it'll let you know that in case you choose to want to interact with them. But now, see, this game, being that this game is on Oculus Venues, is going to be a free game. You don't have to pay to watch it. But if this game was through NextVR, because NextVR, they are the official VR app of the NBA. If you had to go through NextVR to watch this, you could end up having to pay about $7 to be able to watch this one single game. But being that this game is through Oculus Venues, I haven't had to pay for any of the games. And not only that, the Oculus Venues is the only VR app that allows you to watch events with other live people. NextVR does not allow you to do that. From what I'm seeing, you don't watch games with other people. You just simply watch the game by yourself in VR. But with the Oculus Venues, you can watch the game with other people, interact, hold conversations, and it's like, hey, it's a pretty cool experience. So again, this game is at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I will be there, and once again, give me a second. I will type my name. Damn, and 2 days later, on January 13th, we have a game. So let me break this NBA schedule down. Let me break this event schedule down for you. January 13th, which is in 2 days, we have a game between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Indiana Pacers. And then January 21st, we have a game between the Denver Nuggets and the New Orleans Pelicans. January 27th, we have a game between the Sacramento Kings and the Minnesota Timberwolves. February 5th, we have a game between the Miami Heat and the LA Clippers. February 10th, we have a game between the San Antonio Spurs and the Denver Nuggets. And on and on and on. If I do believe if these games are on the Oculus venues and you have an Oculus Quest, the game will be free to watch. Oculus venues only works on the Quest. Oculus venues, that app is not available on the Rift S. So that's why I said if you have a Quest, join me to see this game tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I totally forgot about that. That's in an hour. That is in an hour. Here, let me type my name in the chat again. There, folks, that is my Oculus username. I mean, you can send me a friend request anyway, but if you have an Oculus Quest, send me a friend request and join me in about an hour to watch this NBA game between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Boston Celtics. Come join me and other Questers. Sit down, have some great conversation, and grab yourself a drink, because I always grab a drink and put a straw in it so I can enjoy my drink while I'm watching the game and don't have to remove my headset. And I thoroughly enjoy watching these games in VR, these NBA games in VR. It is quite an experience. So I think that's going to do it for me. I've been, it's already been over an hour. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and, being that my son has the PC, I could play some Firewall because that doesn't really require much movement. I don't want to go play a game standing next to him where I'm swinging my arms and hit him, because I could never play Spark standing next to him, because I'll, smack the hot shit out of him, on accident. So I can't play those kind of games on the PlayStation VR standing next to him. But I can play Firewall. But I think I'm going to take the Quest in my room and play some Dead and Buried. So that's going to do it for me. Outside of watching this game, I really don't know if I'll do any more streams today. If I do, most likely it'll be something on the PlayStation VR, as I have not connected my two PCs yet via the NDI plug-in on the OBS, but I will eventually get around to that. And I will eventually create a Lincoln Clay page for Facebook, so you can join me on my Quest streams there. But that's going to do it for me. I'm going to boogie on out of here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Thanks to Patient Fire. I appreciate it. And for those of you who have an Oculus Quest, once again, join me at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I want to wish everybody a safe trip home as you board your shuttles and depart Wakanda. Thank you for coming to Wakanda. We have parting gifts for everybody who attended this event today in our gracious city, and I appreciate it. And I'm going to get ready to boogie on out of here. Wakanda forever!